You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who have been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com, and then definitely follow them on Instagram for all the information that you need, because I'm sure that's where you follow us as well, at oklahomahof. Let's get into today's episode.
But I guess back to your redshirt freshman year was like the comeback, right?
Yeah.
You start getting confidence and finding something. You had a good summer before you came back to school, right?
Started to kind of get it going. Thankfully, my first tournament that I got to play in was at my home course. So I got back home.
Yeah.
All right. I first went down to Florida and kind of had a coaching change and started working with a guy named Kevin Smeltz. Just had some different thoughts on what I was doing, and just got the club kind of moving on a little bit better path through the ball, and now it's also you got to kind of get through this really just full swing yips you've been dealing with, where it's hard. It's hard to when you've seen yourself hit enough bad shots for a while to kind of really start trusting it again. Yeah. And so the good news was there was enough difference. It was kind of a different feel, and so I didn't necessarily have a history with this feel yet. So I started to kind of get to develop a positive history, I guess, with it, and got to play my first tournament at my home course I grew up at in the Northwest. I'd won that tournament when I was 16, and I had a chance to win the event. Ended up finishing, I think, second or third, and it was kind of the start of sort of the comeback. I think that summer taught me a lot, and it helped me throughout the rest of my career. And that when I was struggling, I never just kind of stopped. I kept kind of playing, and I think that's a good thing. I think just to kind of stop playing, I think, well, geez, where you need to play well is in the tournament setting. And so, and if it's more times than not, I mean, it is what's going on between our ears that's causing us to struggle, especially at this level. You might feel a little something different in your swing or that, but it's what's going on in your head that's making the difference, and so you gotta be able to play in that situation. And so kind of keep putting it on the line, keep getting out there. I think helped me. Maybe that's not the answer for everyone, but I think it probably in some ways maybe it caused me to get worse as I was going downhill, but it maybe accelerated the process coming back, because I didn't just get confidence from, oh, look, I hit a nice shot on the range. It was like, no, this is now, the Western Am, and I just finished second place in the stroke play. Okay, so things are actually coming around, so you're hitting shots and you're having results that give you true confidence, not just kind of playing casually where it's not the same environment. So I think that kind of helped the climb come back as well. But I had to deal with out here, once I got back to school, you
had scar tissue out here, right?
Tons of scar tissue.
People stand on any tee box out here, and they've never played you before, and they will have scar tissue anyway.
Yeah. There's courses like this around the world. But it's unique. There's no bailout.
Zero.
So you have to just be fully committed and have at it. There's no I hope, and just holding on, and then you get the wind blowing, and then that accentuates that, and so you need to hit that thing right on the nose, solid, and really send it. And so it's a great place to learn that mentality. Most courses you can kind of, I can bail out a little bit on this side. I mean, there's trouble there, but I can and so you kind of almost learn to just play defensively all the way around, and you might end up with a decent score, but I think you see Victor Hovland's game. I mean, he's just, it's all systems go, and he's a great ball striker, and so that suited him out here, and he got better at that over time. But by the time he left here, I think he felt like he could hit the ball on a string, and never saw balls go into the weeds out here, and so
it's a great proving ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, when you go anywhere else other than here, you're like, oh, this place probably feels like a field.
Right.
It's
exactly.
Like, if I can stand on, and a lot of the par fours out here, depending on wind direction, you have to hit driver.
Yeah.
You can't just squeak a 3-iron out there and knock a 4-iron or a 5-iron on the green. Like you're hitting driver and you're hitting mid to long iron in.
Right.
Like, it's real golf.
It's real golf.
So couldn't think of a better proving ground for these kids to go on to be the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And and win tour events. Like
yeah.
I mean, Bay Hill a couple of weeks ago, right, was I mean, all the players are kind of moaning about the conditions, and I mean, it was a bloodbath coming down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
And you're just
exactly.
someone's going to emerge from this,
right?
And even with not their best golf, like obviously Victor finished second, right, and then you have Taylor finishing T7, I think is what it was. Like it's special for sure to and you see it now. Being a European Tour fan, like Alex Noren is probably like the one who's most current, right? Come from here, and obviously Victor, but it's great to see.
And we were team Alex and I. We had a year together. So my first year was his last year.
Yeah.
And another really special talent, really talented guy, and super lighthearted. Just friendly, great. I remember my parents always loved how kind he was to them, and really hard worker. He was the hardest worker on our team that year. So for sure, yeah.
Was he just still working on hitting fades all the time, or did that not come in yet? Because all he does now is hit fade, right?
Yeah, that sort of started to come in. I think he started working with Pete Cowan pretty shortly after school, and he started seeing some of that move, but.
So that freshman year, then the end of your red shirt freshman year, you win the Maxwell, which sadly isn't what it is today. What it was back then.
Yeah, it was a fun event.
Was that it's down in Dornick?
Dornick Hills, yeah.
So you go win that, and then you win regionals, and then you win nationals.
Yeah.
I mean, epic run, obviously, for anybody in any division, but. Tell me about the Dornick Hills, because have you been down there since they've renovated it?
I haven't.
They've taken the
I haven't
pond
been down there
right?
since. Yeah, I need to get down there. I hear it's great.
Yeah,
so.
I hear it's great too. We have the U.S. Mid-Am qualifiers there this year, and the Oklahoma Stroke Play, I think.
Cool.
It will be down there.
Yeah.
So you have a great excuse to go down.
And I think they brought it back to sort of what it was.
Yeah.
A long time
taking
ago.
out a ton of trees. But
yeah.
What was Dornick like back in the day when you were down there playing against, Oklahoma's best?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. You could get at it. I mean, you could. It wasn't a long golf course. The ball and technology had kind of already made it outdated from that standpoint. There was holes you could drive it up on the green. There was a couple of those holes, and the cliff hole. 16 wasn't the challenge that it it once was. I mean, you were. I think I've told Coach Holder this recently, and he just shook his head. I mean, I think I put, if I had 6, I wasn't a super high ball hitter, but I had to have a 6-iron or less to go for the green.
Yeah.
You're like, 6-iron? Are you kidding me? I mean, he used to be winging 3-woods up there, and so. But that was fun. I mean, that was I was having a good spring. I'd had a couple second place finishes. Things were going in a really good way. Didn't have my best stuff at the Big 12 championship, but I had confidence and I competed hard, and I think I finished just outside the top 10. And then now all of a sudden Maxwell's next up, and we're all playing together, and the game was there, and just a real confidence boost to perform in front of your coaches every single shot that way.
It's a great format.
Your teammates, and I think something that has always inspired me in some of the team events I've played, maybe why I've had success, is I really care about the team results. I really, really do. And so that almost was probably great. As you're trying to win your first tournament, I was watching how someone in that hole was doing, and I knew I needed to step up for the team, and so it was a purpose bigger than just myself and trying to win my first tournament. I think actually helped me to, just kind of keep the gas pedal down and play for something other than just trying to hang on to win a tournament. So played really well. I think I shot a couple 66s and a 64 maybe or something like that, and just was playing solid.
Obviously, you have the team and you have the success in 06. Do you play Eisenhower that year or the following year?
Yeah, I played Eisenhower that fall. After that.
Okay. Where was that?
It was Cape Breton in South Africa. So it was awesome. Yeah. And
then, for people not listening that don't know what that is, that's the World Amateur Team Championships. That's a 3-man team.
And I might be off on Cape Breton. Cape Breton might be. Is that Nova Scotia? Is that right?
I'm terrible on June.
Yeah.
It was in South Africa.
I mean, it was outside of Cape Town, but I don't know if it was. I can't think of what the exact. But De Zalza and Stellenbosch were the name of the courses.
Okay.
And so I think Stellenbosch might also been sort of the geography location. There was a University of Stellenbosch there, and
so winning national and individually put you on that team. Then do you think?
Yeah.
Because I mean, 3-man team in the US. Like I played it in Japan in 14.
Okay.
I mean, what a tournament! Like you're there, and it's interesting because the girls play the week before you.
Yeah.
And when I went to Japan, the girls were there, and there were TV crews and everything, and the guys would go a week early to kind of get used to it. And I was so pumped. And then when we teed it up, all the TV crews had gone because they don't care for male golf in Japan at all. I was like, what's going on here?
Right.
But who was that team with you guys?
It ended up being Chris Kirk and Trip Keeney.
Okay.
And Chris, it was actually supposed to be Webb Simpson. And Webb had actually broke his hand 4 days before we were supposed to leave over there. And so Chris didn't even get there in time. I think he got there, not even for practice rounds, like maybe the last 2 practice rounds or something like that. And then he played his tail off and finished second place individually. And really, we didn't win as a team. Definitely one of my, probably as I look back on golf, like biggest kind of like wish it had gone differently. I had good rounds going 3 of the 4 and then didn't finish them off. Just kind of my score was really counting, was off to a good start and ended up kind of letting shots slide. And so we ended up finishing 3rd, just maybe only like 2 or 3 shots out of it. So it was a close kind of, and like I said, Chris played his tail off and Tripp played some good golf too. And, but it was an awesome event, really, really fun event.
It's a special golf tournament, isn't it? Wherever it is, every 2 years over the world, like it's, it brings the best out. And, you go back through the history books and you see the guys who are in the top 10 individually in the top teams, and you look at the tour and you're like, there's a correlation there. Like most of the guys are up there. The US team won my year that I played, and it was Bryson, Bo Hostler, and Denny McCarthy played. And like watching Bryson hole a 10-foot putt on the last to beat Canada. And I was just like, who is this dude? Like, who is this guy wearing, like a flat cap and he's putting with that brick putter at the time? It's just like, this is nuts, right? And, and there were crowds around them at that point. Special, real special. Just traveling as well is always fun.
Yost Luton, I think is how you pronounce it, but that's who I got paired with the last round, and he finished. He birdied a par 4. Eagled a par 5, hold out his next shot for eagle on a par 4, and then had like 2 or 3 more birdies coming in. It was unbelievable over the last 6 holes this stretch, and then they won. It was and it meant so much to them, to win. It was really cool. It was really neat.
When I was playing the. We were not playing well, so we were off early every morning basically, and I remember just hanging out just to watch the guys, full leaderboard and everything, and I remember looking at the leaderboard and Denny McCarthy was like 7 under through 9 on the front 9. Just like I kind of careered it, shot 1 over. Different world. Different world. I'm not going to be playing golf for the rest of my life. But then the next year you go on to play Walker Cup at County Down, which looking back, I mean, that team that you guys had, other than I guess the team that was 2 years ago that Morikawa and Champ were on, was probably the best, most stacked, I would have said, U.S. teams, right?
I think so. I mean, I think you look at it. I mean, just obviously, you got to have some time to see how these teams play out. But so some of these more recent teams, give them a few more years. But the things that all those players did on that team were awesome. I mean, Billy Horschel was up there, chance to win just this last week. I mean, they're the best of the best out there. I mean, it's been really neat to see.
Was that one of your kind of first experiences of playing links golf?
Well, I played partly how Pablo Martin ended up at school was I played at that same British Boys that Reese won at Royal County Downs. So you're returning, or not Royal, but Hoylake, So I'd gotten a little feel for links golf, and I really enjoyed it. It was, I know some Americans it's so different and they don't embrace it, but I loved links golf. I mean, I still do. I think it's the most, probably if I could choose to play golf for the rest of my life somewhere, I'd probably play more links golf.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just everything about the creativity and was just really fun. So, loved it. And that's a special golf course. Really, really neat golf course. It's just the topography and how many blind tee shots you have, and it was a nice. We only had rain for maybe 15 minutes one day during a practice round, so we had a week of beautiful weather. Greens were pretty fast, firm and fast course. It was awesome.
Yeah, and you played. There were 3 Welshmen on that team. One of whom I played a lot with Lau Matthews. He didn't play that much. I think he had a shank on live TV and laughed, and Peter Alice rinsed him on live TV. So he did, his golf career didn't really plan out. Obviously Reese, who you know real well. Reese did very well, won a European Tour event, and then you also played against an angry short Welshman named Nigel Edwards.
Yeah, and Nigel was my partner at the end.
Yeah, was who you teamed it up against. But what I loved about the story you told in McGraw's podcast is that is it Buddy had came up to you and was like, he's like, how are we doing? And he's like,
yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, I would think it's the coaching 101 of not
right, what not to say.
Do, right? It was I just 3 putted on 17 from long range and missed a 5-footer, and that was you'd heard all these roars of the comeback that GB and I was making that afternoon. I mean, it looked like it was over. I mean, it really did. We swept that morning session, and so but man, what a comeback they made. And when I asked him, I mean, it was point blank, well, Jonathan, if you would have made that putt back there, that would have guaranteed that you would get a half point here, and then that half point would guarantee that we would retain the cup. And but now it's you win the hole, we win; you tie, we tie; you lose, we lose. Oh man.
Suck it up.
Yeah, it was, and I think there 10,000 tickets were supposed to be sold, but they said a couple thousand more had snuck in. They felt like, and so they were all around that last hole, and that was it was quite a stage. I mean, it was late in the day, and just sun was coming down, and all those people around, and just remember hitting that 4-iron, 252 yards, 4-iron. Was debating between a 5 and a 4-iron with my caddy. It was so firm, and I'd done a good job all week of just playing up to things, and just not getting over greens, not getting even pin high too often, because if you're off, then you were dead at that course. And so I was always coming up, playing underneath the hole, and almost let the other players make the mistake. But Nigel's in the middle of the fairway, and you got the Walker Cup on the line, and I said, what do you think, 5 or 4? And so I think you do whatever, but probably need a 4 if you're really going to get it there. And so it's like, well, we're getting it there. So, but I had kind of 2 feels that week. I would set my feet a certain way, my knees, that would kind of create more of a fade, and then I had kind of a waggle that would sort of help me feel a draw. And the way that hole's shaped, that you land, if you go straight at it, it's running left to right. And if you can draw it, you kind of start running up the hill. And the wind was a little off the right, and so I just went with that draw feel. And it was almost just kind of one of those out-of-body experiences. You just hit it, and you look up, and it's like just you can't believe that the ball's just kind of right. I remember seeing flags, just for a moment that were kind of in the distance blowing, and it was like your ball just kind of hit, and it was like something just pulled it right on line, It's like you almost can't even imagine yourself doing it, and it just kept chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. And, an amazing shot. It ended up in that perfect spot, but I'll say too, it also ended up in that spot too, where it's like, I don't know that you can have more pressure either, because it's now you have a 4.5 footer.
You've stuffed it from 250.
That it's like you're expected to make this now. It's not like you got a 15 footer that, you sure want it to go in, but if it didn't go in, now it's like you got to make this eagle to win the thing. I'm not gonna lie, it was inside. It was a right center putt that I pushed right edge, and then it broke in just to the inside. But you're just so nervous. You just can't imagine just the feelings that are going on in your body. But I had a couple times in my life standing over some big putts where I just kind of almost took myself back to when I was a young kid, and my dad introduced me to help me sort of get better with my alignment, and set up these 3 rulers that I'd kind of make a T-square with. That one was kind of for ball position. I could see just kind of my putter face being square and path, and then the other was kind of for feet alignment, and I hit thousands of putts in my life on that thing, and I just tried to kind of imagine that I was on my rulers, and and that was what I was doing, and it's always neat. I think you get into those situations. Sometimes you don't handle it well, and your mind goes the wrong way, and you completely fall on your face and fail. And but then there's other times where I think your senses get heightened, and you find this kind of clarity that actually allows you to do better than you could have possibly done if it was just a kind of a nothing situation.
Yeah.
So
putt goes in and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, it's probably, you watch videos, and so a lot of my memories now are actually just kind of seeing the video, not so much of what actually happened in person. But yeah, I definitely know. I think Billy and Colt and Jamie got out there pretty quick, and were lifting me up in the air.
Right.
I do remember drinking quite a few Guinness that night.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was that night like?
Yeah, it was great. It was so fun. Just the Sleeved Honor Hotel is right on property there, and there was a pub in the hotel. And just both teams, a lot of the RNA and USGA, guys that, the officials, but then also, that are just kind of involved, that had traveled over to be a part of it. And it was just a lot of fun. Just a chance to, Nigel, he couldn't have been better. He came up and, shook my hand and kind of hit me across the face a little bit, but also then handed me a Guinness, and was just, everyone was just excited about what we got to all be a part of for the week, and celebrated together, had a lot of fun. So,
It's special moments, and for golfers, team events don't come around that often. So that's kind of why they are special, isn't it? It's because of, going to battle with a team of 5 or a team of 3 or a team of 8, 10 guys. Like that, it's not like we don't get to do it every week, do we? So that's the fun part about it, especially when you win.
Yeah, exactly. And college golf, that's, I think, what's special about it. Is hopefully, I probably rushed my college experience a little too soon, and I was a little older for my grade, and now had kind of some opportunities, and my real close friend group was a little older than me, and they were leaving, and so I kind of just felt like I'd had an amazing college experience, and I was ready to kind of move on. But I really think rushing this stage is not the right thing to do, because they're like you said, you only get a chance to be a part of a team golf, and this is really a team. We've gotten to know each other through a lot of playing amateur golf, that group on the Walker Cup, and most of us played the Palmer Cup together, and so we'd done a lot together, but still, it's not like the same relationship that you have with your college teammates, and so it's definitely a special time of life.
Moving, to that point, then, moving forward, after that experience, you turn pro. You spend 9 years as a pro. You play the Open at St. Andrews. You play a U.S. Open, like all of these amazing things. But you met your wife in college, right?
I did.
So you married at this point when you're a professional golfer, traveling around the world and trying to get to that next level.
So I win the Maxwell, I win the regional championship, and then the next week or so later I win the national championship. But in between the regionals and the national championship, probably one of the best things that ever happened in my life was my wife, her twin sister, and her best friend. They came out to Karsten Creek, and not my wife at the time, but just a girl that I was really into, and I remember that's. Coach McGraw and the head pro at the time, they're just like, man, who are these girls? JMoore, like, what is this? But anyways, I took him fishing right out here on 18, and we all caught just huge fish. And so I just think things were going well for me, and but my wife, we met in college, and she made me chase her for quite a long time, and really had to work hard to convince her to give me a chance. But we got married in 2009. And we traveled the world together because she had about a year left, a year left after we got married to finish optometry school. And then really just a unselfish thing that she did is, she worked so hard for 4 years to be an optometrist.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do? You're going to go open your own practice. You're going to go, like, that's, what you spent all that time, blood, sweat, and tears doing. Well, she really put that aside to be able to come and support me, and has been just the biggest, really supporter of my life for these last 13 years. She just a real tremendous belief in anything that I do, and so we had a blast. We just went all over the world and played the Asian tour. And while we were absolutely trying to make it on the PGA Tour that whole time, I think we really had a great time together. And, each week being in a different part of the world and taking that all in. And we were probably tourists that were just getting a chance to make a little bit of money playing golf on the side, was really how we approached it. And our best years is definitely that's how we approached it. It was when we kind of tried to get too serious about it, probably is when I didn't play as well. It was definitely an adventure, but I have a very special wife. So she, I said early on, I get a chance to be around excellence every single day. And that's definitely in my job, but it's even more so in my home environment right now with my son who has special needs. Just watching what my wife's done for him. We found out about his diagnosis when he was about 5 months old. Well, he's undiagnosed, but just that there was challenges. But just watching what she's done for him has been amazing. So, so anyways, she's, you get married and a lot of it is, they look really pretty, and, and there's, and sure, they're, like you get to know them and their character, but, oh man, I had no idea the character that my wife had, and how she supported me, and then the advocate, and the love and support she's given, to my son over the last few years. It's been unbelievable.
So, like I said, 9 years as a touring pro, with your wife with you, which, that's a great play. When you're traveling around the Asian tour too, right? All these countries, all this different dialects, all different money going on. To really find out who a person is when you're traveling.
Exactly.
So I can't think of a better foundation for you guys, to go through and figure out who you really are at that point.
So true. Yeah. You don't have mom and dad to go kind of, figure things out. You had to kind of really come together, and so it was kind of an amazing breeding ground for that I don't think we realized at the time what it was setting us up for. And it was bigger than just golf, but it was neat.
Well, so fast forward, I know we're running short on time, but I want to touch on obviously the reason that you're here in the strength and conditioning side, and I, from doing listening to your previous podcast with McGraw, you talked about Tiger and fitness, and kind of that's originally I think what got you into fitness, right? Because Tiger was the only one doing it. After you're a professional golfer and you think, okay, like it comes a time mentally and physically, like this is not working out. I want to have a family. I want to build a life. How does the opportunity come up here? And do you have kids at that point? Was your son born at that point? I
had my daughter, and we had just traveled playing a year in Canada, and then my son. We were pregnant with my son, so he wasn't born yet. But I just wasn't playing very good, to be honest. I was enjoying golf probably the most I ever had at the time, and in some ways I think my maturity was really, really good. But I was kind of hitting 4 shots offline that a round that just was hard to score very well, and so I kind of got excited. I actually started finishing my degree, and all of a sudden I had options, I think. I really didn't have any, when I started my degree, finishing it, really any intention to try to, like that I was going to stop playing. Coach Holder had always been on me about finishing, and felt like I should. So you actually probably will play better if you do get your degree. You need to finish what you started, and so I did, and then I wasn't playing very good, and I think I was excited maybe about trying something different. And so there's an amazing program called the GIFT program. It stands for Gray Institute for Functional Transformation, and the Gray Institute, they're world-renowned leaders in functional movement, and they train physical therapists, chiropractors, strength and conditioning coaches, anyone. They group you into sort of kind of a movement therapist. And so Dr. Gary Gray, Dr. David Tiberio, they kind of run this. It's a year-long program basically where most of it's online, multiple hours a week. And it's a deep dive into biomechanics and really trying to understand kind of the miracle of the human body. And so they'd be the first to admit that we know very little, but just trying to understand this thing. And so I told Coach Bratton that I'm getting ready to be done playing, and I'm gonna go through this program and educate myself the best that I can, and continue to do that down the road to try to be the best strength coach that I could be, movement professional that I would have wanted when I was in college. I just wish that there would have been someone that knew what I knew. It was kind of what I was going for, and I said, and I'd love to help our team if you're open. And he's, gosh, kind of just was like, yeah, that'd be amazing. Like, you go ahead, get after it, and we'll get you on board. And so super thankful for him for just kind of the trust that he had and in me. And I think that's around here. A lot of it is we believe in hiring the person, and then after that, they'll kind of figure out the tools that they need, and Coach Holder always speaks a lot about that, and so thankfully that's kind of they took a chance on me to get involved. And then I've just had a great run of, I had a great, mentors have been so important in my life. And the basketball strength and conditioning coach had been training the men's golf team at the time, Jake Manzelman, who has since this year, he moved back to St. Louis to help that team. But we worked together for the last 4 years with the golf teams. And, he had a master's recognition through the CSCS, and just a really, really good at what he does. But it is super humble. Here's this guy coming in, and we just collaborated, and so a real testament to who he was. Became great friends, and I got a chance to really learn kind of under him, so sure, I'd learned some things, but the practical side is a big difference, and just kind of how to maneuver through a college weight room when you got all the other teams, and how to just try to make that experience the best for the athletes. And so I had a lot to learn, even though I think my background in golf and then the education I got through the Gray Institute has definitely given me an understanding of kind of the swing, the mechanics of it, how then to look at that and train the body to be the best equipped to handle the demands of the sport. But I had a great education from Jake then to kind of help me get my feet underneath me, and so now it's my 5th year. He's not here anymore, and so I've kind of been on my own this year, fully kind of in charge of that side of the program, and and it's been a new experience, again, a new challenge, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more important every day, right? And it's starting to get more, over the last 5 years, or maybe even 8-9 years, it's starting to get more coverage, and golfers should be going to the gym more and figuring out. And speed is now the biggest thing, right? It's how do you build speed, and how do you maintain that speed and look after your body? And not everyone is Bryson, who can put in 6 months transform his entire body, or put that dedication in, but. It's, I guess, one thing Taylor said on a past podcast was like, it's not necessarily about speed, and it's about longevity as well. You want to be out here for a long time, doing this as long as possible. Exactly. You don't want to have a great college career and then because you haven't been working on the right stuff, you're ruined, or you're like Tiger's had a million surgeries and he's still figuring it out. So that's super important. I'm sure the kids appreciate it.
It's really important, yeah. So and so there's definitely an emphasis on helping them to become, generate more speed. You can, I don't know if this is still, but just a couple years back, I know when a couple of our players were turning pro, if you had 180 mile per hour ball speed or higher, that meant something to, if a company was looking at 2 players and they're going to give them money, that meant something to them, so that number might be 185 now, it might, but so helping these players have speed is important. But you hit the nail on the head and what Taylor said. I mean, that's, the longevity and being able to kind of maintain that for year after year, that's a big deal. So whenever you got to take a break because you're hurt, there's just more than just your body probably ends up suffering, and so just to be able to tee it up week in, week out, that's a big deal.
Yeah, everyone wants to hit it a mile, right? But they also got to hit it straight and repeatable.
Right.
Be doing. I saw a video, I think, of Rory on one of the TaylorMade shoots recently, and he just pegged up 3 balls and he is absolutely hammering them. And and a friend of mine was like, "Why doesn't he do that every day?"
Yeah.
Because he has to hit fairways.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no way he could do it every day.
Right.
He's like flying at 360 through the air.
Yeah.
Like, for a guy who's that small, it's incredible power. But you can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to last long.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, one of the big things at the Gray Institute that we kind of anchor to is it's trying to create a buffer in a sense. Mm-hmm. So there's within your body you have kind of a resources buffer. That means I'm really only accessing hopefully 70-80% of what I actually can do, and then I can still perform and still get the performance that I'm looking for. Because whenever you start kind of bumping up into end ranges of things, well, then that's where you're kind of the wear and tear and the injuries start to happen. And so you'd like for people to have a buffer in their mobility and their stability, their strength, kind of where they don't, they're not they're not maxing out, so I mean you can't max out every single time, but the gym, it's changing. I think you see more people appreciating the fact that it's a lot of how our strength and conditioning programs came about is through powerlifting. And powerlifters, what they do looks nothing like what golf looks like, and really what most athletic things look like, because just moving a lot of weight, you move it very slowly. And so learning actually that the rate at which you move something is probably more important than just this long, big effort to move a lot of weight. And so there's neat things that are happening, I think, where that I think are benefiting golf more and more, where recognizing the loads don't have to be quite as heavy, and thinking more about training and just not just kind of this squats and deadlifts and bench press and stuff. Those are good foundational movements, and you can have a little bit of that in there. But man, if all of your exercises look just like that, you're probably missing the boat. So.
Show muscles, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So.
Well, man, I know you got to go and pour into these kids and give some golf lessons and I mean, just be a coach to these young kids out there. But one of the things that is just kind of the things I keep coming back to, the things you've talked about today is it's not just about golf. You talk about multiple times in this podcast, Coach Holder's has been there for you, right? McGraw's been there for you, but and the fact that when you were playing, Coach Holder's like, you should finish school, right? Like, and also the fact that the relationship with you, the school has with the alumni. Yeah. Like a lot of schools are just, oh, you guys are out on tour now, I'm just focusing on what's here. It's building that relationship and keeping that community. Yeah. And that's not just the golf team, it's with every team, right? And this school in general, it's something that I just kind of keeps getting reminded of every time I do a podcast with someone who's a student or a coach of Oklahoma State, that, it's not about your sport specifically, it's about the people, the school, and what this town is about. So it's really special, and I get the same feeling from you and the stories that you've told. For people listening, I'm going to definitely link you back to McGraw's podcast, because there's a lot of things that we didn't talk about that you touch on there that's super important to your story. Your brother, which you touched on, your son JT, is doing great, but just all of that stuff, and I know we could talk for hours about your faith as well, which we didn't touch on. But for people listening, to get a lot more of the, I guess, behind the scenes, less than golf stuff, definitely go listen to that podcast, because it's incredible, and you'll definitely get a sense for who you are off the golf course as well as on the golf course. For people listening, tell them about, I guess, your app, how they can reach out to you if they're interested, in instruction or that stuff, because speed is a big topic, longevity in the golf game. I'm 31 and I have to warm up properly before I play golf now.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, tell us about your app and then how people can reach out to you.
Sure. Yeah. So that was a fun little COVID project. And there's an app now that I have called More Power Golf, like my last name. More.
Great name.
Yeah. And so, it's been a lot of fun. There's within the app, there's a combination of kind of exercises and golf specific exercises that people can access. And then there's also just, golf's my background as well. And so, several different subcategories within golf as well to help you with your golf game. Yeah. So, it's a one-time purchase of $9.99. So, I think everyone, there's something there for everyone. And, within the app, you can you can submit your swings to me and, get a virtual lesson that's just under $25. So that's kind of fun. And I have people kind of all around the country that utilize that. And but it's also started kind of an in-person lesson business for me as well. And so I with the golfers, my days start early with them on the college players, and I'm with them and I help them kind of with their warm-ups and getting out to the course. And then after that point, if there's anything I need to do for that job or there's some lessons, I do that as well. And so so I give lessons to people in the community or people from outside the state even have been coming in. So it's really fun. Just can't think of a better facility to get to use than this, Karsten Creek. And so so my app, More Power Golf, you can always just private message me on Instagram or anything like that, and I'm happy to get in touch with you and help you out.
Awesome. Well, for people listening, I'll put the links to the app and Jonathan's Instagram in the description. And mate, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate this. It's a great story and one of that people can take a lot from, overcoming so many things. Going through the full swing yips to winning a national championship. Like that's. And not to mention the stuff off the golf course as well. That's huge life experience and stuff like that. But appreciate what you do. Appreciate you pouring into these kids out here. I'm sure they appreciate it too, and they'll look back and maybe you have your own podcast one day. You start telling stories on. You'd be like Colt Knost, one of your old teammates who now has an amazing podcast.
He does.
Which is hilarious to listen to him talk about it. But thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yes,
and
sir.
for people listening, we will catch you next episode. Cheers.
This podcast was presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who've been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.